Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's Romancelandia monthly time. Wow. So first things first, we're not even gonna touch on a polycon here because I talked about that in my vlog and some of the issues I had at the event and everyone else had, and I feel like that's been covered widely across the internet. Tickets did go on sale again, they sold out. There were issues getting tickets again. It's just a lot. Instead, we're gonna move right into all the other things I have notes on for you because again, it's a doozy of a month. First up, we'll continue on the event. We're gonna talk about Romancing Nola, which was supposed to happen in July 2023 and it's not happening because the people hosting it embezzled the money and spent it on other things, which is wild to me that this happened. Again, not the first time we've had that author that just like took money for pre-orders, never shipped things. But yeah, the organizer spent all the money on personal expenses. The person who set this up, Callie Ray, is having a bit of a fit on the internet about not refunding people. So yeah, if you had that on your calendar for some reason already, I would go ahead and take that off. But it's just wild to me that people put up events and do these things and think things aren't going to catch up to them, because there's just no way that you can organize an event like this and embezzle the money and no one's going to notice. Like, that doesn't work. So, you know, proceed with caution when buying tickets and things to events. And authors, I feel bad for you right now because, like, I'm sure authors paid in to go to this event and now they're stuck, unable to attend, and it's not even happening because the person literally embezzled the money. I will link in the description box for y'all a link to a tweet that shows receipts in their PayPal of the money they spent on places. Like, there's Target, there's Wendy's, there's all kinds of personal expenses that should not be coming out of an account for a business. So that's just a little fun start us off because we're about to go full steam ahead into a lot of things in this month's Romancelandia. We're gonna start with one of the big ones. On TikTok, on Book Talk in particular, we did have a big thing happen where some authors that write, I'm going to use this word here to tell you what I'm saying, and then we will abbreviate it from there on out, but they were writing reverse harem books. I've talked on my channel many times how uncomfortable I am with this word because I just don't think it's my place as a white person to use the phrase to contribute to the exoticism and fetishizing of their culture, specifically Arab culture and Muslim culture. So I said that, I will say RH from here on out, but that is what we're talking about, okay? They decided to make a push to change the term to white shoes, which I think is a much better term to cover what these books are at the end of the day, to be honest with you. It also makes it a little easier when they're like queer ones and it's a more intermixing of identities, I think. The push began to stop using the term RH. White shoes very quickly was taken on by people and people are enjoying that term and think it, you know, it's much less icky, especially again, as a white person using this term to talk about books. I think a lot of people are on board with this because at the end of the day, it's less harm done. And I think this is something we as a romance community need to be better about at times. Sometimes people want to get defensive because they want to keep using a term, but at the end of the day, I think as a community, writers, anyone making content, a mentality we should all have is less harm. And that means that we want to do as little harm to people as we can with the language we use, the words we say, the actions we take, right? Harm reduction is a big thing when you live anywhere that has epidemics with opioids and things or other drugs, right? So I think the same mentality when it comes to ourselves and the way we discuss things is important. And it's a key component to my channel. I will say a word like RH, so you know the context of what I'm saying, just in case you somehow aren't already familiar with this term. But then I will not say the word again because that's how that works. You know, I'm not gonna repeat a slur on my channel when I don't need to do that for you to have the context, right? Like, it's things like that. It's doing whatever I can so that anyone who walks away from my channel for the most part has had minimal harm inflicted by something I say, because I, at the end of the day, think that's a big deal. Another thing to keep in mind here is that language has meaning and language contributes to violences against marginalized groups, and people's violence, you know, isn't something I want anyone to experience due to language that I use. And I also think we have to keep in mind what a word brings to mind, like what we picture, what society claims that word to be. If you search that word, specifically the last half of that word, the H part, you are going to get these fetishized images of girls in these costumes that are not okay. And it definitely is fetishizing that race and their culture, and it's like racist depictions. So I think that is something to keep in mind when it comes to this. And I also think it's important to note that there are going to be people who say it's okay to use this term. I will note, if you live in the United States or in a non-Muslim country, I would say that this isn't a word we use in a way that isn't resulting in fetishization of that culture. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. And you know, improper use of language or a term like this doesn't just mean like people are being offended or triggered. Again, the language plays so heavily into violence and other things done to people of these marginalized communities that it's important we keep that in mind when speaking about things. So another thing that came up is like, why can't we just call it polyamorous romance? Technically, most Why Choose books aren't technically like polyamorous romances. They would not be in the same genre. And I think it would be really weird to clog up the search engine for polyamorous romances with Why Choose novels, because they're so prevalent right now, and I like them. I like these books, they're enjoyable, but again, I want to do the least harm I can when I read them and when I talk about them on my channel. And I think it's something just that we should reflect on sometimes as a community, to like listen to the criticisms of things and find a solution that is not inherently like harmful to others. So yeah, it's just been really interesting, because I would say, like, if you're looking for polyam, you're looking for a very different dynamic in your books than you're looking at in these Why Choose books. I just think it would be really terrible to the few polyam books that I've read that are good to clog that search result up. But yeah, so a lot of people are stepping away from that term, RH, and moving to Why Choose. So keep your eyes peeled for changes from many authors you like, and it's okay to just take the language and change it. That's like the beautiful thing about language. We get to change how things are labeled and represented and make them do less harm. And again, that's a big thing for me. I never ever want to do harm when I can avoid it. So this is a pretty simple change. Do with it what you will. I personally will definitely be making the change moving forward. Next we have Kay Webster. This came across my feed in delightful ways. I will say I got some funny tweets about this one, so that was amusing at the very least. So this is about a book called Hood River Rat, which is part of the Hoodlum, and apparently she didn't know it was a bad idea to have a black main character in a series called Hoodlum, with Hoodlum in the name. Like, that connotation is not great. Per my research leading up to this, just to like confirm what I understood of the issue here, that is the main issue. This book was originally listed as dark romance, but now it says dark romance horror because there's literally like cannibalism, incest, torture, and an HEA. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I will note though, I'm gonna play her TikTok where she talks about the book for you right now.
Hey readers, I got something new for ya. So I have my Hood River Hoodlum series. We've got Hood River Rat, Little Hoodlum, Campfire Chaos, and Hood River Zero. But I also have a prequel. So before Hood River Rat comes Hoodlum Heat, and this one, the ebook, is free on my website, and the audiobook is also free on my website. So if you like Jacoby DM, I think I said his name right, he did a phenomenal job on the audiobook that I had done for a little project I was doing. But anyway, you can listen to those for free, and you can get this little cute baby paperback on my website and add it on to any order. I have lots of them. So anyway, isn't it amazing? Ta-da! Hi everyone. I'm sure you guys have been seeing posts about one of my books. My Hood River Hoodlums series takes place in Hood River, Oregon. Hoodlums being a play on the Hood River city name. However, it's come to my attention that it's hurting my Black and brown readers even before the first page is turned. Although that's not my intention, it is the result. I'm all for pushing boundaries, but not this. This isn't something that I would ever want to do. I would never want to hurt anybody. So I'm in the process of changing the titles, working with some sensitivity readers, and have taken to deleting any of those posts. I'm so sorry if this has hurt you, but I am working on it and I will make this right. Thank you for reading and being a supporter.
All right, and then we're gonna talk about the fact that she did apologize. She said she's getting a sensitivity reader and has pulled the books down. So, like, not my apology to accept. If you're not Black, it's not really your apology to accept either. So just take that into consideration. But I do appreciate that she did pull the books down and you cannot buy them right now. I do appreciate that fact. But I'm just like skeeved out a little bit by this whole thing, to be honest with you. I just find it weird to not know that's not a good connotation to have. You know, and I don't know where she's from, like where she's lived and everything, and like maybe that plays into it. That's why I know that's not a good thing. I'm not sure. I just know that's not something you should put together. So that was interesting. Then we have just a fun little note. This is not really fun. Y'all, everything this month is just like not good. So Freydis Moon, they had ARCs go out for their new book. And somebody took that ARC and uploaded it to a pirating website. And they are now fighting with Amazon that they own the book and they own the rights. So here's what I want to say. I think it's really easy to get ARCs and not upload them to pirating sites and cause issues for small independent authors. That's a big thing to just kind of do. Like, if you want to be able to get ARCs and not have issues, don't give the ARCs to pirating sites and cause issues for little small-time authors. Because like for Freydis, this is a lot of work to get in contact with Amazon, which is very hard to do, by the way, if you didn't know that, for authors. Like, they don't have a point of contact necessarily. So to get in contact is hard enough. And then they have to get in contact and get someone to, like, through a computer system to a person to prove to them that it's their book and they didn't upload it to the pirating site. Like, it's just, you're hurting indie authors at the end of the day and you're not helping anyone. So don't do that, please. Just please don't. Then our other one that happened this week is Ivy Owens, the author of Scandalized, which is a book I was excited about. Came out and admitted who they were. Okay, here's the thing. Ivy Owens is Lo of Christina Lauren, or CeeLo. So she's the Lauren. And this book, Scandalized, got blurbed and put in giveaways with a lot of big authors, like a lot of big authors, and was even promoted by Christina Lauren's own social media with no disclosure that they were friends or knew each other. And that is weird, okay? Like, we as readers deserve better than not being, like, I'm not saying you have to forcibly out a pen name, okay? Like, that's not what I'm saying. But you should not be cross-promoting a pen name that you want to remain anonymous with your bigger pen name. That's not okay. Especially, again, to then act upset that you revealed who you were because people figured it out. It's really, we have a really big issue in Romancelandia, I feel like, with transparency on promoting other people's books and disclosing friendships or acquaintances and things like that. I do my best here to be like, I do talk to this person when I have a thing to disclose. If I had a friend who published a book and I read it and I talked about it here, you would know that was the case. But we often see in Romancelandia where a bigger author will, or just an author in general, will promote a book without saying that's their friend. Or like this, again, promoting their new pen name on their old pen name and not disclosing, just like, I know Ivy. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say it's you. You can just say you know them. But yeah, I've noticed this a lot in Romancelandia, and I did find it weird because Ivy Owens' book Scandalized got blurbed by like a lot of big authors, and I was like, that's interesting for a debut that this many authors read this or blurbed it at the very least, because that doesn't necessarily mean they read it. So yeah, I found that curious, to say the least. So I don't know, I would love to know y'all's thoughts on this, because I didn't know. I think it's shady to not disclose like a friendship or like being good friends with people. And most authors I follow that do promote other people's books disclose how close they are with the author. So like I never really have this issue, but I've noticed other authors that I don't necessarily follow closely doing this. So I don't know. I just think it's a really big deal to disclose when you do these things, you know? Like, it's just a big deal. Like, you should tell people, yeah, I'm friends with them, but I really liked their book and this is why. That's all you have to do. You know, I often tell y'all when I'm like, I'm just a really big fan of this author, so I'm most likely gonna like this book. Like, it's pretty basic. But yeah, it's just been an interesting dynamic, especially like I said, as the whole pen name situation has been a big thing in the past few years. You know, people attempting to figure out who Ruby Dixon is. I have my suspicions. Don't comment who you think it is in the comments. We're not gonna go there. Or like Milla Vane was outed as what her pen name used to be. And things like that are very interesting when it comes down to it. So I just, you know, it's okay for authors to be anonymous, and it's also okay to disclose that you know them without like giving away who it is. Now for the last thing on this month's Romancelandia. Kate Stewart, beloved by Book Talk with her Ravenhood series. I don't know, I was gonna read it, but now I'm not. So she had a book that came out in 2017 called Drive, and the sequel came out in 2022 recently, which means people went back to read the first book. She used a slur in that book. And I am going to read you some of the passages that have just confused me immensely, to say the least. I am deeply confused by this. One of which he says, I almost didn't believe you were half Mexican when you told me. You speak English to the cooks and the tables. And she says, it's Latina, I corrected. Mexicans live in Mexico. We're Spanish-speaking American women, which makes us Latina. That's not how it works. I'm so confused, y'all, because to my knowledge, you are Latin if you come from a Spanish-speaking country for the most part. And I'm not like 100 on my like definition for this, but I know that like you're still Mexican. You're just Mexican American if you were born here and your family's Mexican. Like that's how that works. And then she uses the B word slur in this one. So that was interesting, to say the least. She says she doesn't like being half ape. I'm not putting that on the screen or anything for you, but you can get it. And then it has just like the weird Spanish inserts that I don't understand why we did this. One of which involves Ice showing up to the restaurant and her yelling at the cooks that Border Patrol was there and they needed to get down and get out of here. And then Kate decides to answer in her Facebook group in April. She said that her best friend of over 30 years is Spanish. She grew up going to dances, eating caldo. They used those terms freely and poked fun at herself at times and her heritage, but was always proud, and the La Migra joke was hers, so something she put in the book. These weren't meant to be offensive, but more to pay respect to my second family, and in hope she found our relationship in the story. I love that family as my own, and they took me in often when I was homeless. Times have changed drastically, but it was met with the utmost love for my family. Even when I wrote it in 2017, I did consult her. Not great, y'all. This is not a good look. It's just weird at the end of the day, in my opinion. I also think this is extra weird because she has been called out on Instagram. People are asking her to fix it or to change it, like, you know, saying this isn't okay. And instead of responding to anyone, she's just been blocking people. So in my opinion, you know you did something wrong if you won't even address it, and instead you're just blocking criticism and acting like it's all fine. It's not hard. Again, do no harm is a really simple thing, and it's not like sensitivity readers weren't around in 2017, and I can't imagine that people that read this then also didn't call it out. So I don't think it's news that people had issues with this for her. She could have fixed it. She could have fixed it before she released the new book, because then it probably wouldn't have been noticed as much. But like, I'm just stunned that we are still having to address this with people. Just because you have a friend who is X ethnicity or someone from X ethnicity told you that it was okay does not mean it's okay for you to put that in a book, and other people are telling you from that demographic, from that marginalized community, that it's not okay. Like, that is valid criticism. If she was Mexican and put this in the book, I still think people would be calling it out and being like, why did you do this? Like, you're making us look bad. And that is also valid criticism. I just, like, y'all, I don't understand. I don't understand this one. Like, this one blew my mind when it popped off on TikTok and everywhere else that I'm at. I'm gonna link to some of the amazing creators on TikTok who have talked about it extensively, like Exclusive Palm Beach Living, and a couple, I cannot remember other handles. I'm really bad at remembering TikTok handles, especially with the new update, but I'm gonna link to their TikToks down below for y'all, because I think it's important that you go watch them and hear and understand why this is an issue. There are people speaking up about this issue that are Mexican, and like Kate Stewart's not listening. She's like, I'm blocking everyone's criticism. So I just think it's important to know that this happened, and that she's not willing to accept any criticism or critique on it not being okay. That's it for Romancelandia. It was a doozy of a month, y'all. Like, so I'm tired. that was a lot to film. And make sure you leave me any notes in the comments about something I missed. I don't know if I missed anything that happened this month. I feel like a lot happened, like, across the bookish world, and like a lot that didn't affect romance. You know, like, it was a lot everywhere happening. So there's that. But yeah, I feel like a lot has happened. But let me know in the comments if you think I missed something big. If you don't want to do that, you can leave me a sleepy emoji. We'll do a sleepy emoji. That works. Leave me a sleepy emoji in the comments. I will have links to everything down below for you if you want to go read more about any of this. And I will also have links to be my friend anywhere on the internet. And I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get